Thank you, Dawn. Hi, everybody. Hope the first 2 days back, 2 days, is it Tuesday? Yeah, 2 days back have been good. I know this is a very difficult, stressful term for you all because I know that you're all doing your exam and it's all got to be in and they've got all other things to do and been there, done that. I know how difficult it is. So good luck to you all with your exam. So just to say that everything I'm showing you tonight or talking to you tonight about is just from the perspective of a teacher. I'm not a moderator. I've just like you, I do exactly what you do. I've been teaching. So this only comes from my experience, okay? So no come back on me if you take and do what I say to the hilt, but I'm sure it will all make sense to you. So I'm going to share a presentation and I'm going to go for a bit of blurb at the beginning. I hope you don't mind. We do like to show you a few things at the beginning just so that you're a part of what we do, basically. Why is that not going on? Hold on a minute. Got problems before I start. Let's go to the other one. Right, that should be on your screen, hopefully. Okay, so if you haven't already, and I'm sure lots of you are already on our Facebook group, we've got 3 groups: Textile Teacher Centre, Textile Skills Centre, and Facebook page. Please, though, do go onto the website, because if you go onto the website, immediately it comes up with signing up to the newsletter. And the newsletter is really important because Dawn sends a big one out once a month and she sends lots of little ones out. And that's really where you get most of the information. So whatever email you want, whatever email you follow, might be your home one or your school, we put that on there. And the reason sometimes to put your home one on is because we do send things through over the holidays for you. Okay. Yes, as Dawn just said, if you follow us on YouTube, Instagram has become really important for us. I'll explain why in a minute because we're doing lots of giveaways on there. So please do go on and follow us on Instagram. For a lot of you, we do run free mentorship programs. I'm mentoring quite a few, but we do, that's all free and run by our volunteers. I've got a Pinterest page to show you at the end here, and then we do have a little shop as well. So if you haven't, please do enter our fabulous competition. It's for Student Textile Artist 2024. And the students will win a free Janome sewing machine. And of course, more importantly, our trophy, a goodie bag. And teachers, you're going to get a £50 Dryad voucher and a free online Textile Skills Centre course. So lots and lots of prizes going on there. 2 categories, GCSE and A-level. And just to clarify, you can send in a whole class set. So if you want to send in a whole class set, you can just take the photographs as a whole class, and then we will come back to you if they get selected and ask you to fill out the form. So that makes it a lot easier, so much easier for you to enter. And I do get asked the question quite a lot. We do not put anything on any media sites. So we follow all the rules, so you don't have to worry about putting live work on. So we're looking forward to getting your entries. Every student will get a certificate, and that's what's so great. We will send through a school certificate and you can write it out, but they will all get a certificate. Right, so if you're not on Instagram, please get on there because we've got a giveaway with Janome and they are giving away an overlocker, which we asked for an overlocker because we know that's what every school, I mean, I know you need machines, but overlockers are what you are limited with. So yeah, it's on there. Go on to our Textile Skills Centre page, go to the pin, so it'll be the one at the top, and all you have to do is like it and follow us, follow them, and tag a friend. Very, very easy to do. Right, so let's get on to this then. Let's take away the thumbnail there. So I'm doing this in terms of questions, and I know that you'll probably put a lot of questions in the chat, and that's great. And we'll get to those probably maybe in the middle or at the end. We'll sort those out. But ask yourself the following questions. Do your students struggle to mount creatively? Are your students confident about what they have to mount and how they're going to mount it? Do you use sketchbooks or sheets or both? Are your students confident in where and how to mark their annotation? What's the best way to mount and present students' work? Has anybody ever told you that? Has anybody ever showed you any exemplars? How can students work independently in their sketchbooks? That's a biggie, isn't it? To get them working without you having to shifty things around. Where and how do they present the annotation? How do you cover all the assessment objectives? And how do you make all those important connections between the artists, their design work, the primary, the mark making, their developed work? How do you make connections between all that? How does the moderator see that, instantly see that? Okay, so let's start talking about mounting at Key Stage 3. I think it's important if you have time, and I know a lot of you don't, trust me, I didn't either. I had them on a rotation like most of you do, and I only had them for a very few weeks. But I did try and get them to mount work. So it can be taught from Key Stage 3 upwards. The question is, what do you use at Key Stage 3? Do you just use paper, sketchbooks? What is your cost like? I couldn't afford to buy sketchbooks at Key Stage 3, although mine were taking GCSE in Year 9, they did have sketchbooks for that. So mine just use paper. Do you use A4 or A3 paper? What do you think's best? I got them to use A3, which is quite scary when they start, but actually they only use very, very few sheets, and they can actually do half an A3 page and then do another half later. So I did get them to use A3, and I'll show you how I got them to put that in, how they kept that tidy and neat. So do you get students to mount work in the lesson, or do you tell them to go home and do it at home? That's a biggie, isn't it? Because if we're doing it in the lesson, we can go around and crit them at the same time. But the question there is, do you have time for that? Maybe not at Key Stage 3. Do you add crit for mounting to your feedback? Everything should be positive feedback at Key Stage 3. We should never give them negative feedback. But you're not grading it. It's not being graded as such. But how can we give them positive feedback? If you've got any suggestions, that would be great. Do you show them examples? So that's hard if you're starting off, but if you've got photographs, or if they take their work home, if you can't keep any, can you take photographs, or can you photocopy them so you can show them exemplars and have them around the room? I think that's really important. So what pointers can you give Key Stage 3 students? I think it's important to talk to them about spacing. For me, it's about mounting straight. I'm one of those funny people that can't have things floating in angles. That's just me. I'm not very cool on using felt tips. I do like labels. Annotation you might not have time for. If you do, that's fantastic. But at least title their work and have titles on the page. So I've done 2 Key Stage 3 outcomes here. I have to admit, I did the one on the left there because I didn't actually have examples of what I didn't really want to see. But I'm sure your students do, because mine always did. They always used to cut them badly, cut round the outside at funny angles, and put all sorts of squiggly lines around the outside and fill the inside with lots of flowers, which is lovely. And at Year 7, that's lovely. There's nothing wrong with that. They spent time doing it. They think they've made it look beautiful. But if you look at the one on the right, I think it's your right, believe it or not, that is a Year 7 work, which is quite scary. I know, she was very bright. They're not all like that, I can assure you. But I would show that as an exemplar. I've got ones that are not quite so clever as that. So ones that are just the wording is just in squares. I'm not going to go through how I teach all of this, but just to say that it can be taught at Year 7 upwards. So it can be shown how a good page should look at Key Stage 3. That might be 7, 8 or 9 to you. So what does the spec say? Have we read the spec? Have we looked at all the help guides and bits and pieces about what they say about what should be in your sketchbook? So, and what the work should be. This should allow students to demonstrate the ability to construct a sustained line of reasoning, which is coherent, relevant, substantiated, and logically structured. Lots of keywords there. All knowledge, skills, and understanding and activities should therefore be relevant to the student's creative journey. That's the biggie for me, creative journey. It's a journey from start to finish, and it should show that journey. The work undertaken for this component should be seen as part of a substantive focused project, a progression of ideas rather than a series of disjointed tasks. I think that's crucial. So I will talk to you about that as we go through looking at various sketchbooks and not thinking about disjointed tasks being this is your mark making, this is your developed work. It's a progression of ideas. And work should obviously show all the assessment objectives holistically. That's really important. So I've highlighted a lot of the keywords there taken out of the specs. So what does the spec require your student to display, and are they making this creative journey? So for me, they should be displaying their theme, which is important. So how they display their theme and how it should be seen is important. I know we do these mind maps at the beginning. That's quite good. They should have primary photographs, or they might have artwork from source. Not a lot of them do have artwork from source where they've actually sat and drawn specifically where they're taking the photographs. Most students will take photographs and bring them back into the classroom. They should have artists and or designers. They should have some mark making from their primary, so that's going back to their photographs. They should have developed practical ideas, so techniques, textile techniques, refined practical ideas, so refined techniques, and outcome ideas, so illustration. I know that's kind of putting it too much in a nutshell for you, but if we think of it sort of simply, that's what they need. And that's what should be in the sketchbook, and it's easy to think about. I know there's going to be other things in there. There might be secondary and all sorts. So how do they fit into the assessment objectives? If you notice, the way that I've got them there is record, develop, refine, and present. So how do they on the left fit into those on the right? So those record, develop, refine, present are the numbers that they put beside those assessment objectives. Do you teach them in that order? Do your students mount them in that order? Or do they mount them 1, 2, 3, 4? Do students mount them as 1, 2, 3, 4? Do students mount all assessment objectives on one page? Probably not present, if we leave that aside for the moment. Do students mount them one stage at a time as they progress? Do you teach them together, or do you teach them separately? So thinking about this, I want to talk to you about when, I know this is, when I was a designer, as a designer, a textile print designer for a very, very long time. So what I used to do is I would be given a theme. I'd be given a theme, if I go back to the previous page, I'd be given a theme from a shop, Marks and Spencer, wherever it is, I would be given a theme. From that theme, I would then have to go off and find the primary. So they would also give me at the same time maybe some artists and designers to look at, not always, very rarely in fact. What they'd give me is the theme, and they'd give me and narrow it down. So if I was being given a theme of tropical, they might say it's a modern, or they might give me the way that they want it to look. So I'd have to then go off and get some primary. For me, that would be going to draw at source. I'd go to Kew or somewhere which I live near, and I would draw from source, but I would also take some photographs to bring back to my studio. I would look at some artists and designers and look at styles and think, how have they done their style? How can I reiterate their style? And then I would start to draw or mark make. So as a designer, I would start to do lots and lots of different drawings. From that, I would develop some practical ideas. So if I was a designer doing print design, I would start to draw up some designs on a page and colour them in and add, I use gouache, but I would start to draw them all up. Refined practical ideas might be, for me at that stage, putting them into repeat. And sometimes I would be asked to make garments. So if you were showing as a designer, you would often have it digitally printed and do a garment or something to show your design in an outcome. That isn't that far away from what a GCSE student or an A-level student does. And that is the way that it's, for me, is done in industry. It's not always the same way. It's not always that way. If I ended up with a practical idea, a refined idea, and I wasn't happy with it, I would have to go back to the primary source. I would then go back to my primary, start again, and do some more. So for me, teaching would be record, develop, then refine. And that's how I see it clearly. It's not always done that way. Things don't have to be done that way, but that's why everything is marked holistically. So I'm just going to leave you a couple of seconds to read that yourself, because it's a long bit there. So what's some keywords in there? It's marked holistically, understanding of the artistic process, lots of things in there, integrated, sustained artistic journey, lots of keywords in there for me that describes the process. Now we're going to look at just a few, I'm going to move the bar at the bottom, sorry, sketchbook pages. Just a few with certain themes. So this is obviously a structures bone theme, as you can see it there. So this was actually an exam book, so it's an A4 page. You can't actually see that on the screen, but it's a double page. So how do students mount up their work? They mount up on a double page, for me, with all 2 or 3 assessment objectives all together. So on that double page, that student has got 2 of the assessment objectives. She's got the primary, she's got artists, she's got mark making, she's got develop responses, which is mono reverse applique, and she's got annotation. So the reverse applique is off to the right. She's got mono printing there. She's got labels and she's got a little bit of annotation. But on that double page, and she's got artists there, and she's got her primary, she's got photographs of the bones, and she's got some drawing that she's done there. So she's just about got everything on a double page. And it does look like a story. It does look like it's integrated. It looks like you can understand why and where she's got those images. So she's not just taken all her photographs and put them on the first page, then done her drawing on the second page, then done her or drawing on mark making, then done her developed responses on the third page and got her artists somewhere scattered. What she's got is everything together on those 2 pages. And it's not necessarily one of my best sketchbooks. That's not what I'm showing you. What I'm just showing you is how it does look like a journey, how you can see where she's taken the artist or its designer there, where it relates to her primary, how it relates to her mark making, and how it relates to her outcomes. Not going to the next page for some reason. There we go. So this is a surfaces decay sketchbook. Very, very different. Again, contains 2 of the assessment objectives. There's 3 double pages there, just so that you can see the story going on. So she's, I mean, it's a bit hard to tell and the screen's quite far away, but she has got primary there. She has got artist images and she's got mark making. It's pretty difficult to see which is which is why she has labels on them. So she's got labels saying, believe it or not, it's hard to tell what the artist is from her work. So she's got Shelley Rhodes there, which is her main artist. This is Shelley Rhodes' work here. And then she's got developed work from it. She's got CAD work, she's got dyeing, she's got patchwork, she's got printing, she's got CAD work, and she's got some of her primary, which is some barks and things there that she's got. So everything is showing on those pages, and you can understand why, and she's done what she's done. You can understand because you've got the artist on the page, you've got her primary on the page, you can see the connections between the two, and then you can see the connection with her own artwork. So this is a floral one, and although there is not a lot of drawing in here as such, or mark making, her mark making is slightly different. So remember, mark making doesn't have to be a drawing, but she does have primary images, photographs. She's got artists, she's got mark making, developed responses, she's got CAD, heat press, printing, and she's got tags and typed annotation. They do love a tag. And this one, yes, she's used typed annotation. Lots of CAD work in there. My students do CAD work. I know a lot of you are already on it, but there's a short course on doing computer-aided design, which is fabulous, even if I say so myself. Sorry, I do have to say that if you want to do that. And she has got some of her own work there. So if you look at the bottom left hand, that she's done under a heat press, but that is actually her mark making, and then she's got her primary below her there. Seem to want to ever go to the next page. So I've not done anything on this one, but this is 4 double pages of a structures sketchbook. Again, I think we've got 3 assessment objectives here because she's done quite a lot of refined outcomes. But she's got her primary, she's got some drawing, mark making mostly, with acrylics, and she's got lots of her artist images in there, which is actually a designer that she's used. And she's got CAD work, she's got all sorts of cutaways. She's worked away from her primary photographs to work from that as well. Lots and lots of different things going on those pages. And it's exciting because you're seeing everything as a story and you're seeing everything on the same page. It's not disjointed. And lastly, that's an objects from this is also an exam sketchbook here, but you can see Shelley Rhodes at the bottom of there. There's CAD work, there's wadding, there's applique, there's primary. She's worked with the primary, lots of machine embroidery going on here. So lots of developed responses. And you can see the artist's work, and she's got lots of labels on there to show where the artist's work is and where her work is, and a little bit of annotation. Just talking about layering of samples, it is nice to do that. It is nice to layer samples over CAD work. That is quite creative to do that. Lots of students do that. You don't need to completely glue them down, all the layering. But that's a nice way of layering. And students also, when they do refine responses, also like to put them as they hole punch them and put them in between their sketchbook pages so that they're like flip pages in the middle. So lots of layering going on there, just to show you how nice it is to layer. And the top one on the left there, you can see there's CAD work. She's done dissolvable fabric. She's also got some mannequin work. She's also got annotation, and she's got an example of what she intends to do, so a fashion illustration. So mood boards, yes or no? It's kind of a no for me if you know me. A lot of you have spoken to me about mood boards. I'm not, you know, if they do them, that's great. It's just these 2 are just taken from Pinterest. It doesn't say anything. It just says I've collected a lot of pictures and I've stuck them down on a book, on a page. For me, they would be far better printed slightly larger and integrated into their work. Hate me if you want to, everybody, but they're not really for me. Although if they do them, they then have to print them again and then use them within their work if they want to collect all their primary images. For me, I would deselect the primary images. I would just pick out your best ones and just use those and not show, you know, 200 that you don't need to. So keywords: sustained line of reasoning, coherent, relevant, substantiated, logically structured, creative journey, progression of their ideas holistically. Those are the keywords for me for mounting in your sketchbook. What's the best way to show moderators? Because what it boils down to, you're marking one of them, but the moderator is going to come in and they're going to check everything. So have they made the connections from their theme to primary to artist to mark making, developed and refined work, and eventually to their outcome? Because it's all about making the connections between those and showing those as a creative journey. How do they show the moderator that? Showing a creative journey in their sketchbook and adding annotation and perhaps labels. That's the way a moderator would like to see it, hopefully. So how can this be achieved? Okay, not mounting everything immediately. Gather all your work together, or the students gather their work together. I suggest they print out a selection of their best primary images. I always say to them A5 is a good size, ready to use. Print their artists or designers, again, the best ones that they've seen, ready to use. Saving work to create a story. They save in plastic wallets. I'm going to come back to you for 2 seconds here. Are you all with me still? Good. So what I do, and I mean, this is just a plastic wallet, is I get them to gather their work together at the start in a plastic wallet, and they tape that down into their sketchbook at the front. The back doesn't really matter, so long as it's not going to fall out. They can staple the top, however you want to do it. I mean, these are marvelous, these ones, but they're more expensive because they've got a button clip on it. So the button clip is easy because they can store their work in there. But I get them to store their work to start with, because then they're not mounting everything in one go. They're just storing it all here. All I've got in here is the artist images and some primary photographs. That's just to show you, but they would put their developed work and their techniques into there as well. Right, let's go back to our PowerPoint, wherever we are on it. Sorry, that was an aside. Sorry, folks, I just have to move everything to show everything. There we go. Right, so saving their work in the plastic wallet. Then when they're ready, mount it with blue tack initially. I would suggest that they do mount in a lesson, and start in a lesson, do it with them, so that they're either at the start, or you can do it as a starter or plenary. We've just got 10 minutes, girls, your boys, you're going to just do some mounting. A lot of them just keep it to blue tack because they take it right to the end and leave it until the last minute to actually glue it down. But blue tack's pretty efficient. Annotate as they go. Also, that can be starter and plenary. Don't leave it to the end. There's nothing worse. Have exemplars. I know this is hard, but you should have last year's. Try and keep a couple of sketchbooks, especially those that are going into sixth form. If you don't have them and are not going to sixth form, then you'll have to take some scans or some photographs. So it's not necessary also to do all the mark making in one go. So if they start with one primary and one selected artist, whether the artist is for the technique or whether the artist is inspiring them to do mark making, that's fine. Whatever they start with, do some mark making to go with that particular primary, and then maybe they will easily flow on to doing the developed work. If you do all your primary, all your mark making and all your developed work in one go, they're not feeling the story as they're going along. They're not creating as they go along. I personally feel it's better if they do the mark making from one selected primary and artist and work from there, and then go back and do some mark making, pick another one, do some more mark making for that. So that's how they would then be mounting. So they would start mounting their first selected primary and selected artist with the mark making and the developed work, and then they would go on maybe to another one and keep working their way through their sketchbook. Sorry, to click on the page. So the art of annotation, do you teach this at Key Stage 3? Do you encourage students to type or write? I don't think either is bad. Should annotation be on every page? Probably. Do students use labels? I think labels are great because it shows that if they haven't got annotation, at least it shows the moderator what they've done, even if they just label it slightly. So how do you justify annotation to your students? Because the moderator needs to understand what you've done, but you also have to show your understanding of what you've done. That's kind of a cop-out, just saying the moderator has to understand it. I do know that, but it does help justify it in a certain way. You can see annotation there. She's done typed and written. God, my students just love labels. And they clip them so they can put labels on both sides, and they just fall out and go anywhere, but hey, they look good. So the purpose of integrated written annotation is to encourage students to critically analyse. The annotation should support their evaluation of their own work. Annotation could be integrated with the visual work. It may take notes or images or text and can be combined on a design sheet. So it is better to have it in the same page with what they're doing, integrated into their work. It could be done on little flip pages. A lot of them do that, where they tie them in, so they've got little flip pages because they don't want annotation over the top of their lovely artwork, and I don't blame them. So that could be an easy way to do it in a flip page. So a lot of annotation there. That's quite a good one, but she's annotating the artist there. So do your students do long pieces of written annotation or short clips? Mine tend to do long pieces for the artist research and then short clips about their own work, because they're not so good at describing their own work, are they? Do they research artists through annotated understanding? Do your students annotate the understanding of their own work? Well, they should do. So another biggie is grounds and titles. I can hear you all going, oh, like this, because that's what I used to do, is go, oh, they've just spent 3 hours doing their ground or their title, and we just want them to be able to do 3 hours on the developed work. So what do? Teach it at Key Stage 3, make them understand at Key Stage 3 that, you know, as lovely as it is, we need to find quick ways of doing grounds onto their sketchbooks. They would be far better filling up the pages, but a lot of them, some of them like to overfill the pages and do little inserts. Some of them like to have things spaced out. There's no right or wrong to that, but think about how they can do some things quickly. So you've been on one of my courses, I throw powder dyes in the sink and dip paper in it. That's a really easy one to do. Marbling is quick and easy. So if you're doing that as a class workshop, tell them to tear a few pages out of their sketchbook and do a bit of marbling. You can just spray some water on the pages and flick some powder dyes on. That's very, very easy to do. I've put a note of there, write titles. These are really important for the moderator because they show the difference between a primary and mark making, or say mark making and developed work. I think titles are really important, but they don't have to overtake the page. They can be typed out small, or they can just be written nicely beside. That's really, really quick for them to write beside them. But students do need to know that spending 3 hours on a ground or a title is not what you're wanting from them. And I know that's hard. I don't know why that's in there. It was just, I think, showing illustration. That was it, really. I'll go over that again with you. We do have Pinterest. Lots of, there's a sketchbook page in there. It's not my work or my students' work, but as you can see, there are 637 pins there. They're not exactly all related to, well, they are all related to textiles, but not necessarily to GCSE or such. But I've put in there, and I do add nearly every week if I can, lots of sketchbooks. So if you don't have any to show, you could go straight to the Pinterest page. Do follow us and select a few from there. And before I come back to you and answer a few questions and sort of reiterate that, we do have a course, which is, you can have it online on demand, or we've got one sometime, Dawn, haven't we, in the summer before next year, where I do planning, assessment and progression for GCSE art and design textiles. It is a day's course, but we start at 9 and hopefully finish by 1 or 2 o'clock. There's lots of assignments and things to do on there. It's very interactive, but it does include all 4 specifications. There is an overview of the spec, the areas of study, subject content, drawing for textiles, annotation, the personal portfolio, the ESA, planning and progression. There's a huge amount in that course. So even if you think you know what you're doing and you want to go back and have a little bit of training back into thinking about, or you want to replan for next year your scheme of work, that's what this is all about. It's looking about all the things that you need to do to replan your scheme of work. And the progression one in there is also talking about lots and lots of ideas of things that you can do well. So it's a good course. It is recorded as an online one, but it is there live, and there's lots of sort of things to do in there as you go along. How are you all feeling? Exhausted? Taking that in? So some of you are laughing. Marie there? My big thing is that I like to see integrated work. So I think that a page inspires and jumps out at me if it's got everything on that page, or a double page. It doesn't have to be one A3 page, a double page normally. And I think if you have all your artists and your mark making and your primary and develop work all on annotation all on those pages, it looks exciting. What you don't have to do is do everything at once. It's actually, I feel, better for them if they do some more things at the, you know, they start off with one artist, as I said, and one primary, and work from that, and then see how they get on, and then mount that, and start the mounting on that. So you'll take your work out of here, and then I do suggest to do it in a lesson. If not a whole lesson, then start part of a lesson. We're gonna mount today, girls. We're gonna look at mounting, and we're gonna start to mount your work. Once they start and they get 2 or 3 pages under the way, they will then be able to see how they can do it. And if they use blue tack, as we all know, they can go back and they can jig it around, or they can put these inserted pages in, which they love, because then when they flick through their sketchbook, they've got big A3s, and then they've got little A4 ones, and they've got these things going on, and it looks great, and it becomes more of a story and an integrated project. But all 4, I kind of teach all 4, well, not 4, because I don't teach the present, but I teach all three together: record, develop and refine. They can be taught as one. How do you feel about that? Anybody got any questions? So there's things in the chat that I've not looked at. Remember, this is just coming from me. This is nothing to do with the moderator. No one's ever told me this. No one's ever gone online. What I've done is I've looked at loads and loads of specifications. I've gone in and looked at all the help guides. I've cropped words from lots of, all 4 different specs say lots of different things, but they all mean the same thing. I've just cropped what I've taken from 4 different specifications to come up with this. But that's the way that I feel the pages look.
Hi.
So you've just said brilliant, thank you, great, thank you, really helpful, great. Well, that's lovely.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can. Who's that?
Iram.
Hi there.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, it's very, very good. I enjoyed it. There's 2 questions. One is that all the slides which you shared with us, would you be able to just email us?
I can't email you, but they will be on the recording.
Okay, so we can access.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And the second question is that whatever specification you just taught us at the moment with the textile sketchbook, Is the sketchbook is a similar kind of moderation, or is it different?
It's art textiles.
Yeah, is it a different kind of moderation, or is the same?
I'm not sure what your question is. What do you mean?
Basically,
All four specifications have
yeah,
the
or
same.
for specification. That's
They
what I'm
have the
saying.
same. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You know, because I'm working in the textile department, but my daughter is doing GCSE arts. So that's
Right.
why I was wondering to just she
Yeah.
can.
I don't teach it like art teach it. That's different. This is GCSE art textiles.
Yes.
Because art do things slightly differently. They do work a different way to textiles. They don't necessarily record first. So I'm going to answer. Thank you. I'm going to answer a few questions. I'm in year 12. What is your advice on trying to include many aspects and motives of my project? Final pieces. I don't know what you're saying. Thank you. You may reflect on that area. Also, need to put the page matches. Writing frames. Yeah, loads of writing frames in the course. If you want, they are in my course though, but there's lots of writing frames in there. I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Sorry. I am in year 12 at the moment. What is your advice on final pieces? Do you mean the outcome, or do you mean refined outcomes? Yeah. In fact, Dawn, if you remember, we actually spoke to one of the boards. I won't say which one. And I actually did say, why are they numbered, the AOs? And he went, or something, gave me some sort of funny answer, didn't he, Dawn? I don't understand why they're numbered. I don't understand why they're in an order, because art teach them in a different order as well. They don't have to be taught in any order. If you want to do the outcome first, you can work backwards. There's nothing to say that you can't. But as a designer or an artist, Dawn, I know she's done this as well herself. You do work by getting your theme and getting your primary, and you're quite often given the way that the style that they want to do. As I've just said, that you feel like we would work the same way that a designer would work.
Marie is asking, how do you encourage experimentation?
Yeah, I'm looking at that. I do it in workshops, Marie. So a lot of the boards allow you to do this. They allow you to do workshops at the beginning and then integrate that into your work. What I do is I start the GCSE, and then I with their primary and their mark making, but then I do workshops. So I think encouraging experimentation, also at Key Stage 3, also telling them nothing is wrong, nothing is bad. And I think it's probably from the techniques that you teach them. A lot of my techniques are very arty. I think it's in the way that you teach it, probably, and doing the workshops with them, and always do demos with them. So a lot of the work that I do when I do it on the courses, it's a face-to-face course, you do the workshop with them. You can do a demo and you literally show them how to experiment with it. I think demonstrations is probably the best.
Dawn Telford is asking, do you have a suggestion what the key differences are to uplift for A level?
I taught mostly BTEC. I only taught a limited amount of A level, but I did teach it, and there isn't a huge amount. I'm talking sketchbook. I'm not talking the difference between the GCSE and the A level. I'm not going to get into that in a big depth on this chat. But the difference in the sketchbooks is not hugely different. But I did include a lot of other things into the A level sketchbooks that I didn't in GCSE. That's if you want to do some mentoring, I'll do some mentoring on that. That is one big question. I don't think that's a lot to go through.
Somebody's asking about planning to refine. They're planning to refine their KS3 curriculum. I would say do the planning, assessment and progression course, but I don't know if you've got a different answer to that, Nikki.
Do you have any teen chats regarding? Well, I was going to ask actually. Does anybody got any suggestions for teen chats? We are looking at the moment, Dawn and me, at primary and Key Stage 3. To refine the case, would love to hear your take on how you structured it in the past. Also, I believe that would be another mentoring session. I'm looking at the time that I've got 10 minutes to go, and I'm thinking that's a lot to answer. That would take me a good half an hour to talk to you about how I planned and what I did my Key Stage 3. I did swap over from design and technology to art and design. So like a lot of you that swap over, you're still doing design and technology at Key Stage 3. And when I swapped over, I didn't leave my design and technology behind, but I did do a lot more art textiles at Key Stage 3. But I also did include fibres and fabrics and things like that at Key Stage 3. So I could go through with you what I do at Key Stage 3, but that's not really what this tea and chat is. But happy for you to get in touch with me, folks. I'll come back to you on a different on mentoring session. Yeah, I did mention A3 sheets. Sorry, somebody. I haven't got one with me, but what they used to do on their A3 sheet is that they would clip the end, and they, not this one because it was so beautiful, they'd fold them over like this, where they've got where that goes in, and that went into one of those, the plastic, I'm afraid, but you know those little plastic wallets that you put that in, the really, really cheap ones, not the thick ones, the ones, oh, your balloons are off again, Dawn, what are you doing? Every time Dawn shuts, she's going to compete with her balloons go off. It's a little thin, really, really cheap plastic wallet, which they mostly kept at school. And I would give them an A3 sheet piece of paper. This is just a piece of photocopying paper. I would give them a piece of paper folded to take home. I mean, I know a lot of people, I couldn't afford sketchbooks. I was very, very, very lovely to my photographics lady, and she used to give me paper. So I'd use that paper for them to work on, basically. Because I couldn't afford sketchbooks at 7 and 8. In fact, they wouldn't fill them up because I didn't have enough time. I spent most of my time doing practical at Key Stage 3, so there's no way that they would fill a sketchbook. It'd be a waste of money. So if you want to be mentored, you need to either go through to the mentoring on the website, yeah, and ask for me, and they'll put you through to me. I work on A3 sketchbooks all the time, except for the exam I do A4. And the reason I do A4 in the exam is because it's half the work. So they should have half the amount of, it's not half, I know it's 40%, but they should have less work. So I give them an A4 so that they don't fill up too much. Actually, once they've been doing A3 from Key Stage 3, they really, really struggle to do A4 sketchbooks because they overfill the pages, and they fill the sketchbook in the first first few weeks because they're so used to doing them on A3. They can't go back. Yeah, the planning, do look at the planning assessment. It's a really great course. It goes through everything. Even if you're a well done teacher, you know, it's good to go back and do things like that. Yeah, A3 sketchbooks are great for samples, especially if they're doing a CAD. Sometimes they'll print it out A3 as a whole background, and it looks, it's exciting, and it's visual. I think A3, I like it. But if you sometimes they'll do a board, they'll do extra work, and they'll do a nice board. It always looks good mounted up, but they don't actually have to. Yeah, I stick to A3 for me. How long does the access to on-demand courses last? Forever, I think. Don't they, Dawn?
Yeah, at the moment they do, yeah. Unless we
yeah,
decide.
At the moment, yeah, if you're on them, they don't go off. They don't go off. It's not food, but you know what I mean. I hope you've all enjoyed that. If you feel like, I know a lot of you, we are so impressed that a lot of you gave us some little contributions, but if you feel you want to, we do all these for free. So any little contributions are great. It would even pay for the Zoom and stupid things like that we have to pay for out of our own pockets. So if you feel like you want to contribute a tiny little bit when you go, that would be amazing, people. But if you can't, it's fine.
And
We're
don't
fine.
next week we've got Nicola Perrin, who's actually with us today, I think, doing her tea and chat. So please do sign up for that, because that would be fantastic. She's going to do a workshop, and I haven't put up the what you need to take yet, need to have ready yet, but I will be doing that soon, and you'll get an email for that if you've signed up for it. So if there's no more questions, anybody got any more
Just
questions?
answering one. There we go. I've answered somebody's. Yes, they do their statement of intent, but at the beginning, project proposal. But mine tend to do the project proposal about halfway through when they know what they're actually proposing. But yes, they do that. Hopefully it was helpful. Yeah, I answered that one. Anything else?
I think that
That's it then, ladies and gentlemen. Have a lovely evening. Wish you all the best for this term. Just be cool, yeah? Don't let it get on top of you, folks, yeah? I know what this term's like. It's so stressful. You just go out and have a long walk, yeah? If you need, go out and have a long walk at lunchtime. I used to do that. It was quite a good one. Walk around the fields at lunchtime and just take the level down. Yeah, good luck to you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everybody.